guys, Grüße aus Deutschland, greetings from Germany. It is Saturday afternoon, and I don't have an update as to what is going on in my life, but a viewer left a comment asking me to talk about my time in New Mexico a little more, and I would like to do that. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a German citizen, and I lived in the United States from 2007 through 2018. In 2007, I actually lived in Virginia, and then we moved down to New Mexico. And so in Virginia, it was full-blown winter time with snow on the ground and everything else. So we had winter clothes on. And when we took the plane down to El Paso, I think we landed in Dallas though first, I can't remember. But we ended up in El Paso, Texas. And when we got off the plane, it was like almost summertime, like in Germany would be, considered very warm, and sunny. And we had our winter clothes on. But then we drove to Artesia, New Mexico, where we lived for the next 8 months. And just driving past the sign, "Welcome to New Mexico, the land of enchantment." I mean, come on. And I totally get why people love it. I mean, if you like heat, if you like warm weather and Adobe style buildings and stuff like that, I totally get it. It's a beautiful state. It's just not for me for one simple reason, and that is I don't do heat. Vegetation-wise and climate-wise, Virginia and Germany are pretty close, so there was no big surprise there. But then when we moved to New Mexico, it started getting hot. And I cannot do heat. My body just can't. It never could, not even as a child. And so when we got down there, I was aware of the fact that I would have to take measures to protect myself from the heat, but I had no idea how hot it gets down there. And so we lived there from February through the end of October in 2007, and what instantly hit me is the fact that it's less green. There's less vegetation, which is not a statewide thing in New Mexico. It's just the area where we lived. There was a lot less vegetation. There was a lot of burnt grass and just ground that was burned to a crisp. The plants that were there were different. Like when we landed in El Paso, Texas, for example, there were palm trees. I had never seen a palm tree in real life before. And so that was quite the experience. What also stuck out to me is the Adobe building style that you see everywhere. And when you research it, of course, it makes sense because you cannot have certain materials that you build your houses with when you live in an area where it's more hot or hot more than it is cool or mild temperature. And what I also wasn't accustomed to, being used to life in Germany, is the fact that the sun was just up there in the sky every single day. Germany is more like England. We get rain, but not a whole lot. Like I've heard in the States, people say, "Oh no, it rains over there." No, it does not, but we get more rain than New Mexico did. And so in Germany, it's like, so when it's nice weather, people say, "Oh, the weather is so nice, we can't waste it, let's go and do something outside." But in New Mexico, when like the 90th day in a row that fireball is just relentless up there in the sky when you get up, it pretty soon turns into, okay, so the sun is up there, and you lose your passion for it. Another thing was the tumbleweed. I had never seen tumbleweed before, and there was a lot of tumbleweed in New Mexico. And with the area where we lived in Artesia, New Mexico, it was kind of flat land, no mountains. And so the tumbleweed gets just blown about everywhere. And trash also. I had never seen anything like it. When somebody drops a bag in the parking lot at Walmart, it just gets blown about, and you can imagine what that looks like. One of the funny things that I experienced in New Mexico was the fact that I saw road runners. Me and my daughter were walking around. I can't remember where from where to where, but we were walking around, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw something running, but it looked like it was walking upright. I looked. I wanted to see what it was, and it was actually a bird. Actually, a whole group of them, and instead of flying, they were running. I could, I could not stop laughing for a whole while. That was funny. Also, there are Vinegarons there. And how I found out about those is I stepped on one and it was actually a see-through one, unlike in the pictures that I'm showing you here. I stepped on one and it was a horrible feeling. And then I asked the locals. I said, "What was that?" And as soon as I stepped on that thing, I smelled vinegar. That's why they call them Vinegarons, and or Europe, or whatever. I can't even pronounce that word, but that's not what the locals called them. And that was strange. And to me, it actually looked like I saw them subsequently, and they look a little bit like scorpions too. And I wasn't into it. And I also saw a whole bunch of snakes and scorpions, and there were grackles, and they made a really annoying sound wherever you could see them. I don't know what their deal is, but my overall experience with the animal kingdom in New Mexico was that there was nothing fluffy left there. Nothing fluffy, nothing with a fur on. It was just the most hardcore animals and insects that survived there. And yeah, that was kind of scary when you're from a country, or when you just got back from Virginia, where there are bears and raccoons and squirrels and everything, all the animals that we have here, or almost all the animals we have here in Germany. And then you get to New Mexico, and only the most like hardcore and heavy duty animals and insects and everything can survive there. I saw a dead scorpion once, because I worked at a hotel reception there. And one of the housekeepers said to me, "You told me you've never seen a scorpion before. Well, here is one." And she showed me a dead one, and I was good. I did not need to see that. I can Google that stuff. I don't need to have it in my real life. Something else that was remarkable was, and nobody had warned me, that they have sandstorms in New Mexico. I mean, of course, I've watched movies and I've seen sandstorms on TV, but I've never been into one. And so there was no ahead warning when all of a sudden the sky turned orange. Everything turned orange. And there was no sand flying about at the time. It was just that sandstorm must have been so high that at first it took like the sunlight away from me, and then the sand hit. So like minutes later, after the sky and everything around me had turned orange, I was driving in a car on the highway. All of a sudden I heard all those little pops like sand fragments hitting the car. And it got so bad that I stopped the car, and I actually just sat there and tried to process what is going on. And so there was a sandstorm, and before the sandstorm hit though, tumbleweeds, dozens of them, it could have been hundreds of them, came towards me on the highway. At first I thought, oh my gosh, what is that coming towards me? And then I realized it was tumbleweeds that were blown by the wind that was ahead of that sandstorm. So those were things I wished I had pictures of. I did take hundreds of pictures in New Mexico, but something traumatic happened there, and that's why I wanted to let go of that time, and I idiotically deleted most of the pictures that I had. I only have a couple left, but yeah, I wished I still had those pictures of that sandstorm and the tumbleweed coming towards me. Something else that I wasn't accustomed to, but not because it's specific to New Mexico, but because it was a flat plain that we lived on. are thunderstorms that you can see in the sky when they're still hours away, and they're coming towards you, and you can see them, and you're thinking, wow, the weather's gonna change. Because if you're in Germany, you see, a thunderstorm coming towards you. Where I live in the south, it's pretty close, but not in New Mexico. It still took hours for those thunderstorms to come towards us. My daughter and I wanted to go to Walmart, and we lived not across the street from Walmart, but not far away, and so we walked over there, and we were on the far end of the parking lot, and so we saw something coming like behind the Walmart. And I was thinking, yeah, there's a weather coming, but I was used to it by then. In New Mexico, or where we were, when you saw something in the sky, like a storm or whatever, it would take hours to get to you. Not that one. That was a water wall. I have never, not before, not after that, experienced anything like it. So my daughter and I walked towards the Walmart, and the entire time I'm looking past, like behind the Walmart, like up into the sky, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. And I realized that it was moving fast. And so when I realized that it's moving so fast that it's gonna hit us before we can get into the Walmart, I said to my daughter, run! And we started running, and that's when the water wall hit. We ran like for a few seconds, but that water wall was still faster across the Walmart than we were inside the Walmart, and we got drenched within seconds. And so bad, as a matter of fact, that I bought my daughter and I new shoes and new jacket for the walk home. That's how bad it was. It looked like we hit the shower without taking our clothes off. That was remarkable. Something else that I saw in New Mexico that I didn't see in another state was a Sonic, like a fast food joint, and they had pretty good food. And that was the only time I ever saw Sonic. And I've been to, during my 11 years in the States, I've been to Virginia, Texas, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and a few others. I can't remember. Yeah, but that was the only Sonic I ever saw there. The heat, of course, is something that I could not get used to the entire 8 months, but it wasn't hot the entire 8 months, but for about 6 months. And it got to around 49 or 50 degrees Celsius, and that is 122 Fahrenheit. And in New Mexico is where I actually started hating the National Weather Service for being so off so often, because they said, so tomorrow it's going to be 110, which would have been, so 110 Fahrenheit would have been like 43 degrees Celsius, which is bad enough, right? But it still would end up getting getting to be close to 120 or over it. And I hated it so much. I hated it with such a passion. And there's a lot of AC though. I mean, you go into a movie theater, which we did. We watched Harry Potter. I just can't remember which part. And it was so cold in there that I thought, okay, so the next time I'm going to have to bring a jacket. Because my daughter and I actually walked there, and that was about 2 miles. Or was it 4 miles? I can't remember. But I didn't, for a while there, I didn't have a car, or my husband had the car. And so we walked a lot. We also walked downtown. That was about 2 miles one way. And we did it in about, let's see here, between 40 degrees Celsius and 50 degrees Celsius. And in Fahrenheit, that is 104 to 120 something. And we actually took walks because I thought I refused to live in a building with AC, because why am I here then if I can never go outside, right? So we went for walks, and the locals thought we're crazy, and one after another would stop and ask if we needed a ride. They thought that we were like not stranded, but we were walking because we didn't have a car or the car broke down. And we told one after another, no, we're just going for a walk. And they looked at us as if we were crazy. That was funny. Another thing that was different from Europe that stuck out to me in my time in New Mexico is the fact that the sun rose and set much faster, and I still don't know up to this day what caused that. Because geographically, of course, New Mexico is uh, farther south than, for example, Virginia, but we were not that much closer to the equator, and so I don't know what was happening there. What also blew me out of the water was when we went to Roswell, and I mean not the the site, but Roswell, the city. And just driving through Roswell, there were so many figures of aliens, and posters of aliens. It was everywhere. It was like they were, trying to profit from the fact that, it's Roswell, New Mexico. And then we went to a McDonald's that was shaped like a spaceship. Also inside there were all kinds of decorations, and I kept saying to my daughter, see, this is what Americans are about really going into detail about stuff. I mean, that was, I don't know, hilarious is not really the word. That was remarkable. That McDonald's shaped like a spaceship was amazing. During my time in New Mexico, I got my first job in the United States, which was at the local Walmart. And I do not have good memories, except maybe I'm going to focus on the good ones. So it was an entry-level job. I just didn't know where on the job market in the United States I was. We had just, gotten to the States, Virginia for a couple of months, and then moved to New Mexico. And so I was working at an in-stock, like a grocery, stocker, stalker, not stalker. Yeah, that job wasn't a whole lot of fun, but it was my first job. And what it helped me with is learning what products are being used in America. That was very interesting because living in Europe and being married to two Americans in a row, of course, being married to an American in a different country doesn't mean that you know what products they would be using if they were back in the States, back home. And so that helped me a lot that time. I think I worked at the Walmart for about 2 months, and then I got a job at the local Holiday Inn Express, and I learned a lot about the United States during my time there because where we lived, there was also the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, the FLETC, and there were all kinds of U.S. Border Patrollers, and the air marshals were being trained there, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs had classes there too. And so when they had people come to their classes from all across the United States, they would stay at the local hotels. One of them was the Holiday Inn Express, and I was a receptionist there. And so I got to talk to, I don't know if that is the politically correct term as of today, but I got to talk to a lot of Native Americans, and I got to exchange what I knew about what happened, like Europeans coming to the United States and claiming the country or claiming the territory, and stuff like that. And there was a lot of emotional trauma still going on, and they explained it to me. I was lucky enough to run into Native Americans that could actually, or indigenous people, I think that's the better term, and they were willing to talk to me about that, even though I was clearly white. And so some of them wouldn't talk to me at all because they were mad at the white race, and I could not relate at all. I mean, I can't even relate to what all Hitler did because I wasn't even alive at the time, and so that was an interesting time. And also because most of them were physically fit. When I worked at the Walmart, they would ask me where's the crystal light, the stuff that you put in the water, and I would always I would to check them out, see what they're doing, what they're buying, and if they asked me where stuff was, and then I would ask them, imagine you go to a Walmart, you ask one of the sales associates there, hey, where's the crystal light, and the sales associate, which is me, says, yeah, so is that healthy or what? Yeah, I still suffer from jet lag, apparently. The whole time was very exciting. The whole 11 years in the United States was very exciting for me because it was so different. And I learned a lot, and I was a fan of the United States before I ever moved there. And so yeah, but this video is about my time in New Mexico. It was amazing. I hope I didn't forget anything, and if I did, I'll make another video. But those were the highlights of my brief life in New Mexico. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you've ever lived in New Mexico. I know Venom has, and for you, I've actually made the video because you asked me to talk more about it. I just didn't want to do it on my other channel where I have my Amber content. Alrighty guys, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.